That's just comedy, man.
Where's your volume on this? You're live. You got it's up on 85%. Okay, but how do I turn it down?
The smaller speaker. There you go.
All right, cool.
All right.
Hey, beautiful, man. Beautiful. Will.
What's up, man?
What's going on, dude? Thanks.
Is that your first name, Will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just complete.
For the world. Now, do male porn stars have stage names too, or no?
Yeah, I just wanted to be called by I wanted to respond when someone calls my name, and my real last name is not searchable. So I was like, well, I need something that's searchable. You know, if you type my real name into a search bar, you'll never find me. Like I fought on UFC Fight Pass last September against the number 3 guy in the world in jiu-jitsu, and they couldn't find out who I was. It was actually Big John McCarthy. He knew me from fighting in the Marine Corps like 10 years ago. And so he actually is like, oh no, this guy's legit. So he approved the commission to allow me to fight the number 3 guy in the world, and I almost put him to sleep. And that was my first fight back since I broke my back in the Marine Corps.
Whoa, dude! Ooh. You want to? That's good. That's a good story. Let's do a little intro here.
Now he's breaking backs.
Yeah, blowing backs out. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Marines, One Mic. As always, I'm Phil.
This is Wade.
And we're your hosts. What? Wow, dude. You want to spin that microphone to your face?
I can.
There we go. Beautiful.
Just sitting most uncomfortably.
Yeah, let's because you turned sideways.
Well, I want to look at the camera.
You want to see Will? You can just
I want to see Will. Look at that face.
Well, let's do purpose of the podcast, man.
Purpose of the podcast to give you information, skills, and tools that we learned in the Marine Corps and beyond.
Buzz Lightyear.
That if you applied to the civilian world, you could ultimately, don't forget at that time, improve the quality of your life.
Wow, that was smooth.
Really smooth. I'm on fire today.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome.
You sounded like Buzz Lightyear.
Dude, yep.
And beyond.
And beyond. To infinity and beyond. We're welcoming Will Pounder to the podcast today.
Yes.
Maybe if I won't Pounder, he will Pounder. I don't know. That's all I got, man. Will, what's happening, man? Welcome.
What's happening? How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good. So you're a Marine too?
Yes, sir.
When was this?
Oh gosh, I got out March 2012.
Ooh, who were you with, man?
I was avionics. I did my job. I worked on circuit cards and night vision goggles and infrared systems for a total of about 6 months in my enlistment. I kind of led a very interesting Marine Corps career.
Cool. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that.
All right. So when I first got in Marine Corps, all there is to do is eat food and fucking lift weights. So I got into bodybuilding. I got really, really big. And when I got to the fleet, my lifting buddy, he looked like he belonged on the cover of Muscle magazine. Like, this dude's huge.
Where were you at? Were you East Coast or West Coast?
Well, my schools were all on East Coast, but I was stationed in Miramar and Pendleton.
Okay, yeah.
And but this guy, every day in training, he'd come up and he'd flex his arms. He's like, do my biceps look any bigger? And I was like, dude, they're like the size of my head. Like, I don't know. I can't answer that. And I had like this self-reelection. I was like, this is going to be me in 5 years. You know, like if I stay in this path, that's going to be me in 5 years. And I was like, that scared the shit out of me. So I didn't want to do that. So I was like, I'm going to go start jiu-jitsu. You know, I want to do something to use the muscle in a sport, but I didn't want to get punched in the face. So I was like, I'll do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, punched in the face hurts, man. But getting your—
I don't care who you are. Like, I'm friends with Chris Lytle and Joe Riggs, and they say all the time, it's like, oh, everyone thinks we're like getting punched in the face, but that shit sucks.
No.
I was like, yeah, I don't care who
that
you are.
Shit hurts, man. Yeah, no, thank you. All right, so Marine Corps. So you did your job for 6 months. Go on.
Yeah, so basically, I told my shop when I got in, I was going to go fight for the Marine Corps, and they kind of laughed at me. They said, "No, not going to happen. No one's ever left." Every day after work, I drove down, trained jiu-jitsu, and I watched YouTube videos all night throughout the day, because we worked on equipment that it's like you throw something on a computer, it runs like anywhere from half an hour to a 2 hour diagnostics, and then you fix it. So there's a lot of downtime in between stuff. So I just watched YouTube videos. And then what I was doing is I was taking my roommate and I was going over to the gym, and they had this little 4x8 square foot mat. And I was practicing the stuff I learned on YouTube because I kept getting my butt kicked at the gym. And the teacher was only teaching one move a week. So I was like, I'm not going to learn. I don't want to get my butt kicked for like ever. So I was like, I would hear words like an onomplata or, you know, like an elevator. I was like, what are all these? Like, what are these? So I was YouTubing them. And then I take my my buddy or my roommate to the gym. And it started where it was just like a couple of us, but then there's like the gym, that little area started filling up with Marines, where it's like the maximum occupancy of the room was like 24 people. Like it was a tiny little room, and we filled it up with people trying to watch in and learn jujitsu. And then it ended up catching on because I was doing this every single day at lunch and then after work. And then they ended up getting us a racquetball and matting it out. And so as I'm learning jujitsu, I'm teaching classes that are bigger than the classes that I'm going
to at night.
Wow.
And so now I'm in a racquetball court, and we had between 30 to 50 people on average. But after about 2 months, it filled up, and there was like over 60 people. Like we had a line out the door of people trying to come in and learn how to do jujitsu. This is the same time frame where I went out to a tournament. I double gold medaled, and the Marine competition team was there. So they sent me a PTAD orders request to go be on the team. And so I submitted those through my chain of command. Well, my initial shop denied it, but they had to route it up the chain of command.
Yeah, they have to give a good reason why they're not letting you go.
Yeah, well, what ended up happening was a lot of the people that were in my chain of command were actually my students in my class that I was teaching. And cool. So I ended up going from like this racquetball. There's a warrant officer that helped me out because I was only a Lance Corporal. Like I was low on the totem pole doing this stuff. I was like,
this is what year, like 2008?
Yeah, 2007, 2000. It was like at the end of 2008.
Okay.
And beginning of 2009.
You know who was on that team at the time? Matt Raymond. Wade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so then they ended up getting us a 10,000 square foot of mat that was right next to the 7-day, and it was in conjunction with the physical therapy department. But they set us up in there, but we're not allowed to play with the physical therapy department. So I was in charge of the program. So basically, when that chick got routed through my chain of command, my shop denied it, but my command ended up approving it. So I went off. So 2 days during the week, I'm running classes down to Miramar. And then 5 days a week, so I'm driving back between Pendleton and Miramar. I'm a Lance Corporal, barely making a freaking dime. I'm literally making it paycheck to paycheck, just teaching classes. And I was like, oh, this is the best time ever. And 4 months into being in the team up in Camp Pendleton, I went professional in jiu-jitsu. So I was in the sport for 10 and a half months. And I started submitting people that I was learning jiu-jitsu from.
Like 6 weeks before.
It was the biggest mental fuck because I was the same guys I'm teaching. I was watching videos, and then I go out into this mat, and I'll never forget it. There's this guy named Joao Sis. The guy's like, he's a phenom in jiu-jitsu. And I walk out there, and I'm getting ready for the fight, and I look up, and it's fucking Joao Sis. And I was like, oh shit. I learned a lot of stuff from him.
Oh my god.
I ended up getting my butt kicked so bad in that fight, but I was like, oh yeah, it's so bad. I was totally fanboying though. Like I'm not gonna lie.
So that's the is it a jiu-jitsu team specifically, or was it the Marine Corps MMA team from Pendleton?
So it was under the name of submission grappling team, but it was also the MMA team.
Okay, so one of my in about maybe 2009, 2010, probably 2010. One of my squad leaders and a team leader from my platoon went over there for boxing. Matt Raymond and Ryan Kalusik.
Matt sounds familiar.
He's a beast. He lives in Australia now. I'll send you a picture of him later and see if you know him. But this guy's he's a freak.
We ended up, all of us at the end, because the MMA team ended up getting. So the original founder of the MMA team did some shady shit that he shouldn't have done and kind of, buddy fucked everybody. So they ended up shutting down the MMA team. And so all of us moved over to the boxing team. up in Camp Pendleton for the last 6 months, and that was an adventure. We pulled some funny stuff on that. So like I'll tell you a little side story on this one. So everyone on that boxing team, they just assumed we were just jiu-jitsu guys, that we didn't fight. Every single one of us trained in boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling. Like everyone in there were tough sons of guns. And when we got onto the boxing team, the coach of the team told us that we can't spar until 2 weeks. We had to train for 2 weeks. And so when it came down to it, we got to spar everybody that's in our weight class, like the starting guys that were on the team. And I told everybody, I was like, I pulled my team in. I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Throw the first round, like make them look like they're the freaking champ.
Oh my god!
You know, like just let them beat the shit out of you, like like do it. And a couple of them didn't want to do it, but they weren't the first guys up, and they saw what was happening. And so every single time that happened, they'll go up and fight, and they throw the first round. That second round went the guy that was actually like the legit better boxer would get a lot more cocky and start coming out. Well, that's when they just started teeing the fuck off, and just every single one of the grappling team beat every single one of the starting boxing team. It was hilarious. Awesome. I got a picture. The dude I fought has this huge goose egg on the front of his forehead.
Oh no, dude!
And I bet, like, I set him up so that because he always ducked to one side and played the outside game. So once in that second round, I always knew that if I throw the feint, he was going to dip down.
Yeah.
So right when he dipped down, it was like a hard jab. Like it wasn't a hook, but it wasn't a jab. It was like kind of something in the middle.
Yeah.
I felt my middle knuckle through the gloves on his forehead, and it goose egged him. He just ended up sitting down, like sat down on the mat. It was like,
Oh my goodness, man.
But none of them had it. Like if we didn't play it off like that, like we probably would have got our butts kicked, to be completely honest with you.
You just get gassed out. Yeah. It's that's fucking cool, man. That's a lot of people don't realize like there's that opportunity in the Marine Corps to like if you're good at something, like you go play for the Marine Corps.
But you gotta be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or have like a sick fuck mentality. Like for that team specifically. Like I know we had a couple guys that went out for it like after my first deployment, like Ryan and Matt. And they were over there for months.
Right.
It's not easy.
No.
Because so I taught the team, and when I taught the team, I would get the Marines for 6 months. In 2 weeks, they had to be ready to go represent the Marine Corps in competition. And this is jiu-jitsu. My guys at 2 weeks, they were winning novice and beginner tournaments, and some of them were winning intermediate tournaments within their first month. All they knew was one fucking move.
Right.
Like I would go with them. No, I would roll with each one to figure out how they processed information. People process information different.
Yeah.
People have different natural tendencies. So I'd roll with each of the students one time. And then once I roll with them, some of them have a natural tendency to kind of go over control where they're going to go for an arm more. Some have a more tendency of trying to grab the neck. So I'm going to teach them either guillotines or rear naked chokes.
Yep.
And so every one of my students fought different, but I teach them one move and one transition to each thing. And if they got out of those positions, they would just reset. And the Marines were so tough and had so much like energy because like I put them through hell.
Yeah.
There's not one of my students that did not throw up in that first 2 weeks because the only option was to be on my team. If you're not on my team, you go back to your command. So you either make it or you go back. And so they would bust it. Like I can't use that. I was teaching after the Marine Corps, and I can't teach people that way, even though I know they'll win or they'll have like a better chance of winning. You can't. People are too soft.
Yeah.
But when you get like you either stay here and fight or you go back to your command, every single Marine just sucked it up and did it. After that 2 weeks, there's one time I fought 16 guys in one tournament. Never got tired. Every single one of those guys would never get tired.
Oh,
never.
Yeah, dude. It's training. That's what we do, man.
Train.
It's what we do. So we were in Pendleton at the same time. That's cool. That team was at it was by SOI, right?
Let's see.
SOI dojo.
It moved twice, so it was close to the front gate. Then it moved up towards Camp Horno, which I'm guessing
that's SOI.
By SOI. And then towards the end, it moved up towards the Cristianos Gate.
Yeah, San Mateo, baby. That's where fucking pogues go to die up there.
Yeah,
dude, that's where I lived, man. That's where I was at.
Oh shit!
When they first built that dojo, when they first built that dojo, we were the first battalion to use it, man. It was this tiny little box in the beginning.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that. I love that gym. That was my favorite one out of all three.
It's awesome, dude, because it's in like our teaching building, and it used to be just like a little box on the side of the building, and then they kind of expanded it. But it's awesome, dude. Yeah. So I lived up. That's where I was at from 2008 to 2012. Was up there in San Mateo. And,
yeah, I did a lot of stuff with the McMap groups out there.
Yeah.
You got a funny McMap group story.
Oh my god, go for
it.
Go for it. I want to hear about the transition.
Oh. So my actual command itself, my C school instructor ended up becoming my staff NCO, and he was like super gung ho about McMap. Like that was the way to do it.
We've all had one of those.
Yeah, we all had one of those, and I got given my black belt. I taught hand-to-hand combat and weapons disarmament in my spare time, just because I thought it was fun. You know, like we'd use airsoft guns and actually try and what techniques actually work. And we watched a lot of videos of like the professional people that are doing it, and we just reenact those. And I did the same thing I did with jiu-jitsu. I just got really good at it from watching the people that are good at it and just by doing it. And so I was getting red tabs and double red tabs that were coming to my jiu-jitsu classes.
Oh.
And so that's where it came from. So I was correcting the McMap techniques because like a lot of them teach them the techniques wrong. Like you know, like the two-handed collar choke, right?
Yeah.
You teach that at white belt essentially, or a beginning level in jiu-jitsu. You don't actually really master that choke until you're a high-level brown or a black belt. Like there's a lot of little details that go into that. It's more of an advanced move than it is actually a beginner move.
Hmm.
So I would teach a hybrid of it where you just get one hook in, because trying to get two hooks in, especially when you're in combat gear, you're like, good fucking luck. You know, it's hard. And so, but you can get one in. So if you get one in, and I would teach the girls that were going into McMap, and they would kill everybody, even the instructors with this. And they would get one in, and they pull in, they play defensive, and then I tell them, once you feel it, lift your elbow up high, and so it's underneath their chin. Reach around, grab your elbow, and straighten your wrist. It's a one-armed Ezekiel choke essentially. And so I would teach the girls in McMap classes how to do that, and they're submitting the black belt instructors. And so I started reteaching fundamental McMap techniques, and so that caught on. So I started being a guest instructor, like when I wasn't training in jiu-jitsu. And so I ended up getting my black belt given to me. Well, my staff sergeant had a heyday about that. He's like, you didn't earn that, like we're gonna get that taken away. And I was telling him, I was like, staff sergeant, I was like, come to one of my classes. If you don't think I earned it, I'll take it off, but just come to one class. And he was a big dude, really yoked. So he comes to class, and I was like, all right. So I'm running the class. It comes time to free rolling, and I had this featherweight. He was like 135 pounds soaking. I could curl this dude with like one arm. Like, you know, he's a tiny guy. So I was like, all right. I was like, you two are gonna fight. And he looked at me, and then he looked at him and was like, are you serious? I was like, you got it. He whipped his ass from one end of the gym to the other end of the gym to the back again. After one round, he gets up, he walks up to me and says, let's never speak of this again. And walks out.
That's awesome.
Cool, man. At least he ate it, you know. Took it like a champ.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack to not like a full origin story, but we'd like to ask our guests if they are veterans, because not all are, but why the Marine Corps over the other branches?
So when I enlisted, I was too smart for my own good back in the day, and I was not challenged in school. I became a troublemaker because I got bored. And by that, I mean, I figured out that you could take two pieces of cardboard the size of a credit card and glue them together and use double-sided tape and put them on the magnetic strip on the door to the school building. And then the janitor would come in and check it, and it would be locked, but you'd come through and kick it because there was enough space. And so like school pranks, like I'd put a cow in the upstairs gymnasium because you can get a cow to go upstairs, but you can't get one to go downstairs.
Oh my God.
And, you know, I was just like kind of an asshole, and I knew this much about myself that I was like, I don't have the discipline to actually do anything. And then I started looking at the economics where I grew up, and it was an economic black hole because everything was so cheap there and everything was so expensive everywhere else in the world, but you couldn't make money to actually move anywhere else because it was this economic black hole. And I was like, if you weren't in a union, if you didn't own a business, or you weren't a doctor or lawyer, you're essentially stuck there. And every single person I grew up with hasn't left a 50-mile radius of where they went to school.
Where did you grow up?
In Idaho.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I was like, one, I knew I needed more discipline, and I knew this, and I was like, my best friend from high school, he ended up joining the Marine Corps, and he sent me this letter, and I have it somewhere, I have it in a box, and he's like, bro, like, whatever you do not join the Marine Corps. It fucking sucks. like whatever you do, don't join it. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I won't join the Marine Corps. So I was like, I was looking into it, and people say the Air Force is really nice. So I was like, all right. So I scored really high on the ASVAB. So I went to go to the Air Force, and I went in there like 3 different times on 3 different days. Air Force guy was never there. And I found out later on, like years down the road, when I went back to say hi to the people there, the Air Force guy ended up getting like fired or NJP because he actually didn't do his job. Like he was always gone golfing or something. He never actually showed up there. And
sounds about right.
Yeah. And so, but what happened was the
like
third time I went in there, I heard this cadence, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. And I was like, what is that? Like, that is awesome. And so I went in and I looked in the Marine doors, a bunch of pulleys working out, and I was like, well, that's something I could get behind. You know, like,
yeah.
And because I was in crazy good, I was working out 20, like I love working out. Like that was my jam. And so I heard about the Marines. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps. So I went in and joined, and my parents almost had a heyday.
Oh my goodness, man. That's so funny. All right. So you got out in 2012 in March.
Yes.
What was that like? When did you get into what you're doing now? We could kind of talk about that transition into the adult film world.
Man. That's not a quick little story, because I didn't try to get into my current job.
Let's talk about it, man.
We got plenty of time.
All right. So when I got out of the Marine Corps, I made it onto Team Black House. So my teammates were the Nogueira brothers, Junior DeSantos, Anderson Silva. I got under their team because they came to do a seminar on MCS, like jiu-jitsu, and they actually started grappling us. So I told my guys, well, if they want to grapple for real, like, go for it. And so I started catching everybody in a crucifix. And so then they invited me over to go train, and I kept catching them in the crucifix. So I ended up making it onto their team. So I decided I was going to get out of the Marine Corps, pursue my dream of being a martial artist, and go that route. And I was on there for about 2.5 months, and my back started hurting. So I was like, all right. So I went to the VA, and they gave me muscle relaxers. Well, by the time I made it to the exit of the hospital, I couldn't move my legs. And after having MRIs and talking to the surgeon, turns out in MCT, I broke my L5, like fractured it.
Oh.
But because I was training so much, it kept my core tight, and I was limber enough that I was able to like still do everything that I was doing. And so what happened in MCT is, that last, like, were you in the grunts, or were you,
we're all infantry.
Okay, yeah. See, I was a pogue. I was a filthy pogue.
That's okay.
So I made up for it. I choked people when I taught a lot of infantry. But anyhow, so we had to do like a 13-mile hike at the end of MCT, and my buddy, who was like my battle buddy, he sprained his ankle like very shortly into it, swelled up like a golf ball or a fucking tennis ball or whatever. It fucking swelled the fuck up.
We get it.
And the sergeant was telling me, he's like, he gave this whole speech about never leaving a Marine behind, anything like that. And I didn't want him to go on the med hold. So I threw him over my shoulder, and I carried him, both our packs and our weapons, on this hike. The sergeant runs up and starts yelling at me, saying he's got to do it on his own and put him down. And I literally just told him, I was like, you just got done telling us never leave a Marine behind. And then I turned around and walked away. Like, I know it was disrespectful to just turn around and walk away, but I was like, whatever, what's the worst he's gonna do? I still gotta do this stupid hike anyways.
Right.
But he let me go. So we both ended up graduating. And that's what actually broke my L5.
Damn.
And it was the only, because he said it was in the time frame of when I was in MCT. And that was the only event that could have caused it in MCT. And then So fight career was over, literally overnight. So I was like, well, I got the GI Bill. I guess I'll go to school. So
Go ahead. That thought.
So, couldn't walk. The VA wanted to they wanted to fuse my back. One of my friends, she was a body worker that worked on professional athletes. So she told me not to. So she started working on me, and she was actually how I was able to fully rehabilitate. And then it was like, so in that 2 years, I was going to school. I was playing a video game called Elder Scrolls Online, and I reverse engineered the video game. Because when it came out, they didn't tell you what the variables were and how it worked, essentially. So I pretty much created an Excel sheet and started testing out all the variables, and I found a bunch of loopholes. So I tried to let the developers know. I was like, hey, your game is broke, and it's only broke because of these little variables. Like, you change these, game works. And they didn't listen to me. So I spent 3 months, and I capitalized on all the loopholes that I found when I reverse engineered it. And then, so me and my 4 buddies, we fought the entire server against us. So we're talking like 300 plus people against 5 of us, and we won. My character was unkillable. He couldn't die, so it wasn't fair. So I ended up meeting with the developers, and one of the guys that I ended up talking to was the owner of a change management firm. He wasn't with the company, but he was a player of the game. And I started chit-chatting with him. So I was going to school to be a project manager. So I ended up getting a job as a change management specialist through a video game. So I was doing that. And then I finished my degree. I wanted to be a project manager because I didn't want to do a change management specialist anymore. So I ended up going out to California, and I got a job as a QA inspector. And then did that for 6 months, created my position. I was working at UCSD, and I wanted my actual goal. Yeah.
Over by Scripps Research, dude. Little Torrey Pines, Pacific Beach, La Jolla. I used to live there, man. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great area. But I was a QA inspector on there. So what I did is they didn't have a QA program. So I built the whole program, and they still use the program today. And then I wanted to be a project manager. So I found a bunch of problems within the campus. And I was like, I wrote up everything, and I put them in a sheet, and I put my resume at the bottom, and I went to the assistant director. I was like, so this is what I found that's going on with the campus, and I think this will help. So I gave it to him. So he looked through it all, and then he created the project manager position and then promoted me. And so then I became a project manager, and I did that for a year, but around 7 months. So I had about 70, 80 hours work a week, but I could contractually only do 40. So I used an Excel program, and I streamlined it, and I got it all the way down to about 5 or 6 hours worth of work a week, because the Excel program that I did automatically matched outside companies that had already approved with their availabilities to the availability of the areas that needed work done. And then it populated an email that went to the dean, the assistant director, the supervisor. So everybody sent the emails out. I automated the whole thing through Excel. But at the same time, I got told I looked like Ryan Reynolds, and so I wanted to do like a film just to say like I did it, And so I went to this film festival, and I was in 2 films. I played the host of a Sexaholic Anonymous class for a political comedy that did pretty well, and then I played the action hero in this action film. Well, I ended up choreographing all the fights. Like, no one knew how to fight, and they wanted to do this fight film. And we had this warehouse for like an hour. And by the time we actually got down to shooting, we had enough time to do 2 takes, and then we were going to be out of there. So I told everybody, I was like, all right, look, you guys are going to fight me for real, because none of you guys actually know how to fight. So don't pull your punches, pull your punches, but you'll know when you're going to be knocked out, we'll just run with it. And because I got permission from the director, so he let me choreograph it. And so we went at it. One of the guys did a Hollywood reaction to a hit, which wasn't realistic, and he ate a knee to the face. So I called cut, and I brought everybody in. I was like, if you guys Hollywood anything, I can't predict where your body's going to go. You are going to get hurt. And I was like, just act like it's like you're actually in a fight. And then we hit go. And then right when we went, I fought everybody. Actually fought them. They just pulled their punches. And when we ran through the whole thing, the director was like, what the fuck. And so I started getting booked a lot of side work. I started getting booked side work on top of being a project manager. Well, I got down to a 7-hour work week, so I was able to like set things up and get everything going and kind of skip out a little early to go work, do some commercial or do some other film or do some project. And I started making more money on the side. So that's how I got into film. And then when my contract was almost up, I ended up filming a military TV show. And there was I shouldn't have even been on the show, to be honest with you. I really shouldn't have, because I was cutting weight to be I was cutting weight to do a fitness competition. Because when I broke my back, I got like 255 pounds of fat. Like I was big.
What?
And yeah, I got fat. Well, I had my diet from being a professional martial artist, and then all of a sudden I couldn't move. Like it took everything I had just to get from one end of a tiny ass apartment to the other, and I was living off of the disability I got from the military. Which really isn't much. So I was like, I could barely freaking move, and so I ended up losing 55 pounds in 3 months. Like one day, it literally what broke down. I was like sitting in my living room, and I was like, I used to be the happiest motherfucker around, and I was like, I'm not happy. And so I was like, all right, well, I need to fix myself. So I literally started off like doing push-ups on my knees and then making it a point to walk. And then when it hurt, I was like, I'll push it as far as I can until I get sharp shooting pains. And I literally built myself back up to where I could work out. And then after like I busted out, I guess it was like busting out all the scar tissue or something, I was able to actually start moving. And then I lost 55 pounds in 3 months. And then then I was like good. So I was like, all right, I look good. I feel good. Wasn't happy. And then I was like, it was because where I was living at. And I was like, I was the happiest in California, in San Diego. So I moved back to California. That's how I got back into California.
Okay.
Going to get those jobs as a QA inspector and a project manager. And then, but there's also this point in time where, so I spent a year and I started helping people that had type 1 and type 2 bipolar, because I found out that I had type 2 bipolar, and it was in this time period where it was like when I was super healthy in the Marine Corps and I was eating really, really good, it didn't really affect me. But when I got really, really big, I was going in mania and hypomania for 9 to 11 months. And I would wake up like once a year and I would look through my phone and not recognize any pictures. Like maybe like 10, 20%, I would like, oh, I remember that. But I don't remember the vast majority of it. I was like, oh man. And so like, so I went through this process where it was like, I found these vitamins, they're called Q96. They're nootropics for your brain. So I started taking those and that worked. But then I started feeling emotions. And I was like, oh, these shits are making me angry.
This sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, all right. So I quit taking those. I was like, not taking those. Well, I went back into hypomania for another year. And then I had knee surgery, and the anesthesia knocked me out of hypomania into depression. And then when I came back to normal, I was like, okay, my brain's working. I'm looking through my phone. I don't remember that year. So I was like, I checked myself into the VA mental health. I was like, yo guys, like something's going on with my brain. Like I need some help. And they never got back to me. Like they literally never got back to me.
Go VA.
It happened to me.
So I was like, well, there goes another year.
On me today.
The third time it happens, I was like, all right, I need to figure this out. And so because I had a second knee surgery on the same knee because the first one didn't work. And the same thing, the anesthesia knocked me out. I went through depression. I came back to normal, and I looked through my phones, and now I don't remember anything for 3 years. Like like maybe
What the
10,
fuck?
10%. I'm like, what the like? It's like I'm waking up and I'm in a 30-year-old's body, and I don't know what happened. It's like boom, ready, go.
That's insane.
And so I was like, so I remember back. I was like, all right, well, I felt emotion. I remembered. So you feel emotion when you're bipolar, but you don't like remember feeling emotion. Like you think you do. It's kind of weird. It interferes with how your brain processes information. So I started studying as much as I could about it. And so I started taking the Q96. And when I felt emotion, instead of like burying it down, I was like, all right, well, it's there for a reason. Let's figure it out. A bunch of stuff from like your childhood, your upbringing. I mean, you don't join the Marines because you came from a happy, healthy family, like.
Well, you do now. You do now because there's a lot of red tape around recruiting. So,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
There's
gotcha.
No more, well, when I joined, you know, like that wasn't really the case. So
right.
I would feel emotions and I would like figure out where they came from, and I would like It's like, oh, okay, well, that really wasn't my fault. And I kind of relived everything and processed out. And it felt like this whole weight went off my shoulders. I was like, okay, this is good. My brain's working. So I started diving into research of like what bipolar was. And then what I actually ended up finding out is it's a miscommunication of the emotional campus. And so I spent a whole year, started helping other people fix their mental illness because it's mostly diet related. Your body's not getting enough omega-3s. Your parents were taught not to eat fats, and their parents were taught not to eat fats. And so then when you eat like a shit diet, you're literally burning the omega-3s out of your brain, and that's why it gets worse over time and eventually leads into schizophrenia. So I tested this, and I did triple the dosage. So I studied physics since I was a kid, and there's this doctor speaking at a physics conference, and it blew my mind. Talked about bioelectricity in the body, talked about maintenance levels and treatments levels of different nutrients, and like vitamin E at daily doses does one thing, vitamin E at like super high doses has a completely different healing effect. So I tripled the dosage of high quality omega-3s for 3 months, and then bipolar completely went away.
Wow.
Before I did it for 3 months, I tested it for 2 weeks, and I'd quit taking it, see if anything came back. After a couple weeks, something would come back. So I did it for 3 weeks, and I flooded my system with nutrients, and it never came back again.
I'm gonna buy my
And so
ex-wife
then
some omega-3s.
Right. Oh my God.
Your wife
Get-
is Jesus.
Go on Amazon, get Q96. It's a nootropic that has all of the minerals that the brain actually uses. The hard part is when you consume omega-3s, your body only processes 5%. So you need a high quality, because there's a lot of scam fish oils that are on the market.
Oh
A lot of them are really, really bad. So you need to actually get a high quality one. The best ones are cold pressed, but the companies that make cold pressed ones don't make any money, so it's hard to find those. But you can, like krill or krill fish oil is really good. But you want to triple the dosage of it for 3 months. And at the same time, you got to cut out caffeine and sugar, because both of those adverse. I know, it sucks.
Oh, dude, I did it. I caffeine. I was like 1,000 milligrams a day for a few years straight, dude. And I went almost cold turkey, man. And it's been
Those both adversely affect the brain really, really bad. And especially if you have bipolar and everything that I can find out from literally spending a year helping people everywhere from like Navy pilots that got kicked out due to bipolar, who've literally completely flipped around and live a normal life now. I've literally come from like, cut out sugar, cut out caffeine for 3 months, triple your dose of a high quality fish oil, and take Q96. Do that for 3 months. You're not going to have to rely on a pill. And every single person, it's been the same case on repeat. Not a single person has actually reverted back to it.
That's crazy, dude. That you studied all that shit and came up with it, man.
And so then I was like, all right, well, when at first my brain started working, I was like, I wanted a safety plan. Like I was like, so I was going to different psychiatrists, because I was like, if I don't want to lose another year of my life. So I was like, all right. So I went to psychiatrist. I was like, hey, if something happens, like I need a backup plan, like maybe some meds. And they're trying to force lithium down my throat. Literally trying to force it down. Like they're not even listening to me. And I was like, and then I told him, I was like, you didn't mention about the 9 other synthetics that actually work that have less side effects than lithium. Why are you trying to push lithium down my throat? And the second question, how do you even know if it works if my brain's working right now? I'm looking for like a backup plan. Like if it doesn't work, this is all new to me, and not a single one. They all just trying to force lithium down my throat. So I was like, all right, this isn't going to work.
I don't even know what lithium is. Like the battery shit?
No, lithium is it's a drug that they use to treat bipolar with, but the side effects of lithium is actually worse than bipolar. It can increase white matter in your brain, which leads to more memory loss. So the problem with bipolar is, depending on how severe, when you experience an emotion, that emotion overrides what's happening. So that memory of what happens during that emotion doesn't get stored in your brain.
Right.
So like the way I actually started figuring things out is, your brain's like a computer. It puts together the senses around you, and it formulates what it thinks reality is. And when the emotional campus is messed up and you feel an emotion, it's like, do you know what a runaway variable is in computer programming?
No.
So if you tell a computer, like you want the computer to count to 10, right? So you tell it to count, but you don't tell it when to stop. It's going to count indefinitely until it blue screens to death.
Right.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So someone that's bipolar, and it can be any emotion from happiness to sadness to anger. The most common ones are anger. If they experience an emotion that's higher than a threshold, their brain doesn't know how much to tell them to experience. So it just starts going and going and going and going until you hit a blue screen of death. And essentially, there's no input or output that can be received. The brain's actually got to reset. And that's why you hear a lot of bipolar people black out all the time. Things start making more sense when you put them in computer terms. So
I mean, that makes way more sense now already. And I'm not even a big like computer
yeah.
guy.
So basically, once you realize that there's a miscommunication, because if that was happening to your computer, you're obviously there's some fucking wires crossed. It's not doing that. So what's the brain made up of? It's made up of fat. All right, well, let's flood it with fat. Holy shit, the body will repair itself if you give it everything it needs. Like, who'd have fucking known?
Right.
You know?
Dude, that's crazy how that works, man.
But I looked at micro to macro. So I was looking at dietary trends on a global scale, and each generation in America, mental illness has gone up.
Oh yeah.
And diet has gone straight down.
And diet has gone down. So it was like it's literally a direct correlation to the two. So that's kind of what led me in that direction.
It's all food, man. We talk about that shit all the time. All the time. You know?
Yeah. So sorry about the whole side tangent, but that's kind of important to play into the timeline for how events started happening afterwards.
The context.
So yeah, because it's like two different things happen at the same time, because like I don't remember 90% of when I was in a bipolar state, but I know from the pictures of what happened in there. So when I was at UCSD, I was taking these cold pressed fish oils, and I was just taking the daily dose, so my brain was actually working. And so that's what I was able to do a whole lot of that. Well, when I went to go film this TV show, it was in the middle of the desert, and I didn't bring anything with me, so I ended up going into a bipolar state. Like I was in hypomania by the end of a month, and had no idea. Like I had to look at pictures to even remember it. And so what ended up happening was there was an adult film star that was on that set that wanted to shoot a scene with me, and I was going the actor route. So I was actually, I don't want to do that. So we made a bet. Well, I was supposed to go film a commercial on an island for a resort, and then go play Captain America at Comic-Con. And they ended up booking around that time period. And so I told her, I was like, well, if those two cancel, then sure, why not? I got nothing else to do. And my agent calls me the next day, 7 a.m. He's like, hey, bro, I got some bad news. The resort gig's canceled and Comic-Con's off. I was like, oh. So I ended up going out there, and I ended up shooting a scene. And that's how I ended up getting into the industry. Thing is, right around that same time period, I was also in hypomania. So I don't really remember a whole lot of it. I just remember that what I was doing that. And apparently I was really good, because that started giving me more work. And then, so I did that for I was doing it for about 6 months. Then I had that second knee surgery, and I was out for 6 months. And that's when I actually started doing all the research on how to fix everything, like trying to fix the brain. So I ended up fixing the brain. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go do a different job. And because I was like, maybe I'm not gonna do this, so I'll try to do something else. So I ended up being a QA inspector for a cleaning company. So basically I was a glorified fucking janitor. And, and I was going around, I was busting trash, but I didn't care. I was like, I was literally, when I hit when my brain balanced out, I was damn near homeless, because you can't really, sorry, it's 10 o'clock. You can't really function when your brain doesn't work. You can't function. So I was I was damn near homeless, didn't have any money to my name. And when I was working the few scenes, because when you get in, nobody knows you as a dude, and the entire production relies on you being able to do your job. So it's a slow process getting work that way. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a different job just so I can get onto my feet. And so that's why I was busting trash cans and stuff. I no pride in the game. Like I did it. Whatever.
Yeah, dude.
And so I was just doing that. And then after doing that for a while, I was like, all right, money's good, but I was trying to branch out to expand my career. But they realized I was really good at developing systems. So I ended up I converted them all from paper into digital, and started doing all these systems, and I completely changed management, specialized their entire company by doing that. And I was just like, I literally have no time to expand my career. I don't want to do this anymore, but I can't get out to go do anything. And then I get a call to be like, hey, I got a booking for you. Do you want to go do this? And I had been out for like 6 months at the time, and I was like, so I kind of thought on it, and my gut told me, I was like, do it. And I was like, all right. So I went up and did it, and then I started snowballing because I got, my brain was working. So I was like, I started like just nailing like really good productions on there. And so that kind of started getting out there. And then I would say about a year later, I did so there's this weird string of events that led me back into jiu-jitsu. So there's this director that he's one of the first American black belts in jiu-jitsu. And there was this other performer that started doing jiu-jitsu that talked a lot of smack about how good he was in jiu-jitsu. And I'm like, you're not the best thing in jiu-jitsu. Like, you're not the only person that does jiu-jitsu, you know? And I haven't trained since the Marine Corps, since I broke my back. And so what ended up happening is I heard about this black belt. Well, I was known for beating black belts. Like, I was known for submitting black belts in a tournament. I don't have a belt. I got given a blue belt to teach a gi seminar by Ghazi Parman, like back in like 2010. You know, like
Wow.
for the most, like, I literally put on the belt to teach a class and then never really wore it. You know, like, it's just, nobody cares about a belt. You know, and so I was I heard he was a black belt, and I was like, I wanted to choke him out. I wanted to see if he was legit or if he was just like running to suck. And so and he kept brushing me off. Like, you know, I'd go to talk to him. He thought I was just some dude trying to hit him up for work. And eventually, other girls ended up telling him about. They're like, oh no, he's actually really cool. And he was like in the Marines or something. Well, he heard that I was in the Marines. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna give this guy, you know, some respect. So we ended up chit-chatting, talking about jiu-jitsu. And so he invited me out to go train. Well, the other guy that was talking like he knew everything about jiu-jitsu, they were making a bet. He was saying that I'm not legit. And then the black belt was saying, he's like, I don't know. He's a Marine. He was from San Diego, which is kind of a jiu-jitsu mecca. I don't know. I think he's legit, you know? And so they're having this bet. But he was so sure that I wasn't going to show up when he invited me to go train that he went out to go catch a movie with his kids. So I show up, and when I actually showed up, he was like, oh, shoot. So he had the owner of the gym, which was a jiu-jitsu world champion, and this other performer, or this other guy, ended up showing up. And so I show up in there, and I roll with the world champion first, and I catch him in my crucifix series. Mind you, I'm super rusty, but my series is like really, it's the super sneaky series that catches everybody. And if you come at me even harder, you'll get caught again. Like, I caught the number 3rd guy in the world in it. And anyhow, so that happened, and then I just kind of mollywopped the other guy like down across the gym a bunch of times, and so that's how I ended up getting back in jiu-jitsu. So that director ended up teaching me about how to do I worked as a PA for him for free because I wanted to see how it's done behind the camera to get better in front of the camera, because I was an average performer then. Like, I'm being straight up honest with you. Like, I'm in my head at the time, I thought I was better than what I was, you know, but I was like, you know, like everyone thinks they're better in their head, you know? And so I was like, so he started, I worked for him for free for like 2 months as a PA, just to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, learn the angle, because there's so much to it that most people don't actually really know.
Right.
And so that started getting better. Well, he ended up, what was his name? Rico Rodriguez, the UFC champion. He won like Abu Dhabi, a bunch of, like, I don't know if you know who he is.
Sure.
Big UFC, big fighter guy. He hits my black belt buddy up, who at this point I'm submitting everybody in the gym. You know, like my series is submit, like, you come at it harder, I'm submitting everybody again. And so he hits him up saying they need a 180-pound guy to do this UFC fight jiu-jitsu tournament. It's the first one that they're doing. And so he's like, well, I know a guy that can literally submit everybody, but nobody's going to believe it. So luckily they picked me up off of his word. Like, they couldn't research me because my last name's not researchable when you type it into Google. Like, you literally can't find it. And so in order to get approved for that fight, like, the commission is trying to find out who I am. And it was Big John McCarthy he knew me from the Marine Corps because I spent an entire year, and I was like, I literally picked one year. I was like, I'm gonna submit everybody with a crucifix, every single person.
Oh my
And
God.
Big John McCarthy remembered me from that because I literally submitted everybody in a year with a crucifix. The referee would go out there and say, he's going to put you in a crucifix. And then it was not a secret. I was like, everybody knew.
Yeah, and then
How'd that happen?
Yeah, literally every single time. And so that's how I ended up getting approved for it. So this was actually more of a publicity stunt than it was actually me like going out there trying to actually win a tournament, because we got put up against the #1 team in the world. And so we had a whole game plan. Well, this guy, Lachlan Giles, submitted everybody else on our team in less than 30 seconds.
Whoa.
I go up and I fight him. I catch him in my crucifix.
Yeah.
He turns purple. Like he's about to go out. I had the wrong angle. I was using too much muscle and I got a little too excited and I let go of the position because I was going to go for the finish. I got greedy. That was my mistake. He got out. We rolled for like 5.5 or 6.5 minutes. And it was like this, it was a whole dynamic exchange. It ended up getting fight of the night. And basically he afterwards, everyone was talking because like I ended up becoming friends with like the top 5 guys in the world. And Lachlan was saying, he was like, if he was anybody else, he would have tapped. But he said he was not going to tap to a porn star.
He'd never live that down.
Oh my God.
Oh no. And so that's how we all ended up becoming friends that way. And from there, that's when after that publicity stunt, like AVN and XBiz and a bunch of like adult media outlets put out all that, like, we have a performer that just fought on UFC fight. Like it went out everywhere. And then my work started getting up to where I was working all the time.
When was this, Will? What year was this?
This was, I got to remember, COVID was 6 months. So it was like 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. So I fought last September. So if that kind of gives you a time frame. So right after last September, I started working, like it sped up to where it was like 2 or 3 times a week to 5 to 6 times a week. And now it's to the point where look how many times we had to reschedule just to get in here.
Right.
You seem to be a pretty popular guy.
I'm too busy fucking. Damn.
Damn. Stuffing all those stockings.
Damn.
So it's yeah, it's just one of those things. So it kind of filled up. And so then it's weighing it out. Like right now I don't train jiu-jitsu anymore because nobody gets COVID tested to go train. And I'm working with people every single day, and everybody gets COVID tested every single day. So like ethically, I can't go train and then go to work because that's just that's unnecessary exposure that could be avoided.
So I think everyone's fascinated with porn, right? Or at least I'm just speaking for myself. But take us behind the scenes of what it's like. Like,
well, what do you think it's like? I'm very curious. I get asked this question all the time, so I'm flipping the tape.
I'm more of a home video maker.
Right. So I don't know. Like, I guess I feel like it's got to be, from a guy's perspective, super awkward to have a room, like a camera crew that you're doing this in front of.
Not if you drop the hammer.
Not if you drop the hammer, but there's got to be, if you're working as often as he is, there's got to be 1 or 2 moments where you're not like your all-star performer. And then what if bring a girl on set, they're like, that's really not my jam, but it's my job. So how does that, like, you bring one girl out that you're like super attracted to,
but
it's just like, we're men, right?
Fair
So you bring out a girl that you're super attracted to. It's really easy to give like a rock star performance. You bring out one that's like totally not
it's
your
also
jam.
really
it's like,
easy to, do a little leaguer, right?
Yeah. So then you have that too. You gotta last a certain amount of time.
We're gonna keep going, Will. So just, anytime.
Oh no, this is great. This is entertaining.
But it's got to be nerve-wracking to have like a room. I don't know how many people are in a production crew when you're doing a set like that, but
well,
so
it's the same as this.
Sometimes it's one person. Sometimes there's 8 people. So it
Depends
all
how many
on
people
what
are
you're
fucking.
Doing. No, I'm talking behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So most people don't. I think there's this big miscommunication between what people think it is and what it actually is, because mainstream media portrays it as being like cocaine out on the table, like it's a big party.
Damn.
We literally get there. We film a video of saying, "Are you under the influence of any drugs or alcohol?" Or da 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 da. You will be performing sexual acts on TV. You will be known as an adult film star. Da da da. Like we go through a whole process
Every
We got
time?
contracts, every single time. And then when we work with somebody, this is where like being a professional athlete. So I treat work like I'm about to go out and fight. You know, like my diet's on point. I take care of my body. I take care of my mind. Like I'm going out there to go compete, but I'm just going out there to perform. It's an athletic job. It's not like you're at home, you know, doing lazy miss, you know, just have fun. I was on a bar, like the bar was about like this wide, and it was like 5.5 feet off the ground. So you can't really touch it. And we had to do the entire thing on top of this bar. And there's at one point I'm back behind the thing and I'm holding myself up so we don't fall, but you needed to do that. So as a dude, you got to do that, keep them up, shoot the whole thing with someone that may or may not even want to be there to begin with anyways.
That's talent.
Because if you don't, nobody gets paid. And if you flop, then you don't get hired anymore.
Ooh.
Dude.
So this is why it gets hard for new people. And I tell you, like
Or
my
soft.
My DMs get flooded with people. Well, how do you get in the industry? I was like, well, I got in a unique way. Everyone gets in a unique way. I can't help you there, but I can guarantee you're most likely not going to be able to get them up on set. And that's like the culture. They actually did my black belt friend. He did this was like clear back in like the early 2000s. He did this show, like there's this actual TV show that wanted to try and find the next big male adult film star. And so they asked him about it. He says, "You're not going to find him." And they're like, no, we're going to audition a bunch of people. You're going to find him. I was like, "You're not going to find him." I was like, it's incredibly rare to find someone that can actually get on and do the job under the six. So they ended up auditioning hundreds of guys. Out of all the guys that they auditioned, only one got hard. And before he could actually get close to the girl, lost it.
Oh.
Wow. Really?
Send me.
And we're talking about everybody that thinks they're a champ, that thinks they're an all-star.
Right.
And the girl that was doing it, she wanted to be there. She wanted this to happen.
Oh, wow.
Now, let me flip the tables on you and what it's like when nobody knows who you are. If nobody knows who you are, you're not shooting for big companies. You're shooting for the cheaper companies.
Yeah.
And
Milf
so the
hunter.
cheaper companies usually get the girls that don't really want to be there anyways, because they're not making as much as they would on a bigger set. And so now you got a girl who doesn't want to be there. Everybody paychecks depends on you performing. You have 1 to 2 other people that you don't even know that you're having to do this whole thing with. That's how you do all the acting. You got to run through 4 to 5 positions, and you're lit up like the 4th of July. You know, like you got so many lights and cameras on you.
Yeah.
And everybody's waiting for you to perform. The girl's not even into you, so she's not going to help you. You just got to get them up, and then when the camera goes, it's like, all right, ready to go.
Wow, dude. So
Why-
that's like the chick's just like in the corner. Like I bet I'm sure there's some that are like obviously like want to be there, like you said, like that are into it.
Yes, but I'm not talking about the ones that want to be there because they tend to be better performers and tend to work for companies that pay more.
Yeah.
You're a new guy. Nobody knows who you are. You know, like they don't know if it's going to be a good scene. Girl hears, oh, it's a new guy. It's like, oh no, it's going to be a long day. So you go in there. The cards are stacked against you from the get go.
Oh, dude.
And you know that if you flop, you're not going to get hired again, and so you're not even going to be in the industry.
And that right there is why you can't get it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
You flop once.
So you got all this pressure. Is like not only does your paycheck rely, the director's paycheck relies on you. The girl's paycheck relies on you. The 1 to 4 PAs or every workers, all their paychecks rely on you doing your job.
Wow.
Why do they even have acting scenes in?
And if you flop, the directors talk to all the other directors because it's hard to find a guy that can do the job. So when you have someone that can do the job, the directors talk about it. Well, if you got a guy that's flopping on your set, you're going to let your boy know that, hey, don't hire this guy. It was bad.
Ooh.
You know, so it spreads like wildfire. So when I get messaged, and I don't even respond anymore because there's a 99.9% chance that the person couldn't even do it. And I'm not going to put my name on somebody you know, you
You
know what I'm
can't.
saying?
Right.
Do you have
100%.
girls DMing you as well? Girls DM you and say, "How do I get in the industry?"
I don't recruit. Like I'm not a pimp. I got in because I lost a bet and all that. And anytime girls hit me up to get into the industry, I highly encourage them to travel any other route. And I get a lot of girls that are trying to like get better with their OnlyFans and how to do this. And I try to tell them like, and I'll have this conversation. I was like, look, you are getting into adult work just by doing an OnlyFans. If you think nobody's going to see it, I guarantee you they're getting in. They'll join for a month. So like what happens is, and I hope girls actually listen to this conversation, or if you take this bit out and put this out there. So what happens is when you create an OnlyFans and you're a chick and you promote it, basically that's everybody that is on your social media, whether it's from high school or whatever. When they see that, those are everyone that wanted to see you naked.
Yeah.
So they're gonna buy. So that first month, you're gonna make a lot of money. You're gonna think, oh, this is great. But if your content sucks and it's not keep going, which most of the time they're really not the best content, because you like the popular belief is, oh, I just do a little this, a little that, and then I make a bunch. It doesn't work that way. It's a job. Like if you think money is easy and free, like what kind of cloud are you living under? You're either a trust fund kid or you just like insanely lucky. But for the rest of the world, it's not easy. It's not free. You got to put in work. So what happens is they'll start this, and after about 3 or 4 months, they're barely making anything. And right now, you have all of your stuff. It's already been screenshotted. It's already been saved out on the internet. And you can't tell me that's not going to affect you in your future life if you're trying to do other things. So I try my best to convince people otherwise of going out there and doing that. Because now that is just for like OnlyFans. Now, if we're talking like professional in the adult industry, we're looking at the average span for someone getting in is 6 months to 2 years. And the reason being is, so if a girl comes in, she'll shoot for every studio at least once.
Okay.
If her analytics does not pick up where that scene is doing, those scenes are doing well for the companies, then they're not going to rehire in the future. She won't be in the rotation. So 6 months, you could be out. Like you'll make a lot of money in 6 months. Most of them are younger. I really think they should raise the age to get into the industry to 21. I think 18. I don't think at 18 years old. I know I wasn't smart enough at 18.
No way.
You know, so like I was 19 when I joined the Marine Corps.
Right.
You know, and I knew that I had the cognitive ability to know I'm not disciplined enough to live life. I needed help. So that's why I joined. Like, so you can't tell me someone at 18 is, but they'll make a lot of money for their first 6 months to 2 years. And then after they pass this age of being a teen, there's this gray area until they become a MILF.
Right.
So those are the two popular ones, teen and MILF. If you're in that gray area, your bookings tend to go down, and you tend to be like, if there's a cancellation or something, you can be used as a filler. But it's not the same. You're not making as much money as you would. You need to go do something else. So I always try to tell everyone, I was like, it's not what you think. Like there you have like a less than 1% chance of catching on and being the next big thing. It's so that I refuse to recruit. I absolutely refuse to recruit.
Right. And then what is I mean, you don't have to tell us like what you get paid per scene, but judging by what you just said regarding, guys can't perform, do men actually, because I always thought women made more money in porn because guys are perverts and we pay for it. But do you get compensated in the same capacity?
When you're new, no. When you become high in demand, so we'll put it this way: if you have a good guy and you have a really bad girl, you're gonna get a good scene. If you have a phenomenal girl but a bad guy, you're not gonna get shit for a scene.
Right.
You can't really market that scene at all. So when you get really good, the rates of a guy actually start going up. And so when you're one of the top guys in the industry, you can end up making close to, if not more than what a lot of women make in the industry.
Okay.
And you end up working all the time.
Right.
So it's yes and no. If you're new and nobody really knows you, you're not really going to make much. It's not really going to be worth it. You're most likely going to have a second job to get through it all. And even then, like, you really got to be careful. Make sure that your ego is not bigger than reality, because it's not what you think. You're literally I don't know if I can say this on YouTube, but you're a sexual athlete.
Right.
The keyword is athlete.
Who is one of your favorite sexual athletes? You don't have to tell us the favorite, but one of your sexual athletes to work with.
Oh, I don't even keep track. I work every single day. I approach it like a fight, and I approach it like in the Marine. You know, in the Marine Corps, you're taught to like accomplish the mission, right?
Right.
You're like mission focused, right? So I know what it takes to make the product. You know, to make the scene, to make the product. All it is it's this digital file that is on a hard drive, and I know what I got to do to make a digital file that is sellable and that does well. That's the mission. So I approach it with the mission. Everything else, I don't care. It's literally work, if that makes sense. It's work. That's fun. I enjoy my job. I like performing. I like coming up with new things, but there's not a thing about performing that is real in real life. Okay. You're not banging on a countertop that's like 4 feet off, 5 feet off the ground. You're not on a bar. You're not doing anything on a bar. You're not like on this like fucked up little ottoman trying to like do 4 positions, and then you're not doing that. You'll probably do a couple, you know, like in your personal life.
You got your little repertoire. It's probably smaller than
3 go-tos.
Adult athletes' repertoires.
You're not having to open up crazy so that so you can get light and the camera in there to see, you know, like you're probably doing like the turtle, like you're closed up. You're in the moment. You're feeling it.
Right.
Whereas like what I do is more of a performance, and you're performing for the camera. You're doing a show for the camera.
Right. So you said earlier that you get tested every day for COVID.
Uh-huh.
And then how often do you guys get tested for STDs and stuff like that?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
And you guys, by contract, aren't allowed to have sex with anyone outside of.
Really, just nobody does in general.
Okay.
Because there's plenty. Usually, if you're gonna do it anyways, you're gonna want to film it so you can at least make money off of it.
Yeah, but he's working every single day. Like, how much more can you be doing if you're doing one or two?
I got a girlfriend. Like, I'm in the best relationship I've ever been in my life. Like, I think there's a picture. I don't know if you can see him in the back.
Yeah,
well, I saw her walk by earlier. She's there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, like we're literally best friends so my girl, she's in the AVN Hall of Fame, Girl Performer of the Year like 10 times in a row. And we met on a Save the Bees campaign. And so when we met, we ended up just becoming, she was like the only girl that wasn't trying to bang me. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, this is great. All she wanted to do was smoke a little weed and play Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like,
fuck yeah,
this is great! Like, this is the best." Great. And it was a relief because like I just wanted an actual friendship with someone. So we ended up becoming best friends for like 3 months, and we ended up going on a camping trip, and we slept in the same bed, but we didn't even touch each other. You know, like we're both like adult film stars. We didn't even touch each other because we just had too much. We didn't want to ruin the friendship, and we ended up breaking the friend zone barrier on that camping trip. But like, all that was is we ended up holding hands and kissing. Like that was it. And so we ended up becoming
interesting.
Yeah. And literally like we do just about everything. We play video games together. We play like MMOs on the computers as a pastime. Like we're both like two nerds that are like super, super happy to be with each other that just enjoy life. And so yeah.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. That's not what you would really think.
Right. So this was like a podcast that had many layers to it. I didn't anticipate that you had done so much. And it seems like you move around a little bit. You're a shaker and a maker and you're really bright. So what's next for you?
Well, right now I've started shooting a lot for Brazzers, and the next stage in my career is working for those big companies and cutting out the smaller companies, because I shoot. So I do a lot. I do about 15 VR scenes, virtual reality scenes a day. Before COVID, I was doing 2 VR scenes a day. And those are very, very long days. And I don't know if you know anything about virtual reality, but you have this like huge camera that's in front here. You can't move. You got to stay center line. And so you do an entire scene like that. So when someone puts on a VR headset and they move their head around, they see the entire room and they see what's happening. So when they look down, they see my body.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's
So
fucking crazy.
It's gonna be it's gonna be the end of women.
Wow.
So I started cutting those down because I will literally shoot 30 out of 30 days a month in VR, but I don't get any exposure. I can't build my brand from that. It's just from here down. So I limited those. And when I started limiting those, I started getting booked by other companies and bigger companies. So I'm working on heading in that direction. Outside of that, I've teamed up with a CBD company that is trying to expose the CBD scam.
Oh yeah.
Right now your body can only absorb 5% of the CBD you consume. They've got patented technology for CBD that allows up to 100% absorption.
Whoa.
And they've got FDA approved grass, which is one of the few companies that have that. So we've been working on getting that up off the ground. Yeah, other than that, it's just I've it's just I've got like probably like a 3-day window to get a whole bunch of stuff done before it's like, all right, well, time to go back to work.
Right. In my job. VR, that's crazy.
Dude, I've never even known what that would mean.
So thus far, I've only clicked on one video where you've popped up in, and I was like, I just can't do it. I base it off of the women, obviously, and I'm definitely more of the MILF guy versus the teen girls because I'm 45 and I just like to deal in my wheelhouse.
Dude, I mean, this is like Wade said, like I'm blown away by like the path to where you are right now.
Dude, I should have been dead, man. I should have been dead so many times. I should have been dead after my back was broke. You know, I should have been dead after the mental illness stuff. You know, there's no way. Like,
dude, that's crazy, man.
It makes no sense.
Well, what we like to do towards the end of our show is ask 2 questions, man. And
so there's 2 Marines, 1 Mike.
2 Marines, 1 Mike. 2 questions. 1 doesn't belong to us, Mike. The first being the billboard question. So if you had a blank billboard for the entire world to see, what would your message to the world be?
Let's see. I would probably put so I don't drink, but I would put on there, buy me a beer, here's my Cash App.
Right? I don't drink. 2 out of 3 of us over here don't drink either, so you're in the same boat.
That's
Wade,
funny.
follow up.
Follow up is we like to institute a mission of the day, something small for our listeners and viewers to do over the course of the next week or for the rest of the year, that matters, since it's December 23rd, I think. It could be make your bed every day. We're big morning routine guys. It could be read 10 pages of a book every day. It could be open the door for someone or smile or something simple like that. Are
you talking about like New Year's resolution type thing? Or
no,
is that it?
More like just maybe something that has served you. It could be even something that you learned in the Marine Corps, something very small and simple that you do every day that you think makes an impact in your life or somebody else's.
I mean, literally just treat people how you want to be treated. You know, you lead from the front, not the back, you know?
Always.
So,
man. Always.
Amen.
Leaders eat last, right? Simon Sinek?
Leaders eat last.
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much.
I would say, so when I started jiu-jitsu at the first gym I went, there was this poster, and I used to stare at it every single day when I go into the gym, because that's where I did my stretches. It was always like right in my face. And it was an acronym. It said, "Can I?" And it was constant and nonstop improvement. And so I was always like, well, even if I'm being lazy today, I can always get better at something, no matter how small it is.
Right.
I love that, dude. Little things, man.
That's awesome.
It's the little things that make up the big stuff.
That's it.
That's it, man. Well, dude, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us. I know
thanks for having me on,
we caught
man.
you on a good day, man. We'll definitely have to have you back, dude, because I feel like there's so many more questions about
There's a lot there. Yeah.
And I'm just interested, man. I really am. Now I'm curious. I'm like, man, am I one of those dudes that would fucking flop?
Set up all the cameras and have someone come over and
I mean, it wouldn't be the
bring
first
four,
time.
4 or 5 people in here. 4 or 5 people you don't know watching.
New business venture, casting couch.
Yeah.
Right?
Bill's-
Well,
Casting
not
table.
just it's not just 4 or 5 people watching. It's 4 or 5 people judging you
To get paid.
on if you can even do it, so that they're going to get paid.
All right. So we'll have everybody. I don't know. We'll get like my mom and stuff here. and-
Oh yeah. No one's getting that one up. No one's
We fucking throwing wet noodles at the wall and
right.
shit. Oh my god. All right, man. Wait,
Well-
final thoughts, man. What do you got?
Final thoughts are it was definitely a nice surprise because I really didn't realize like such a lengthy and intricate and introspective journey to where you are now, and it was very cool, man. Thank you so much. Bill, final thoughts.
I have so many more questions. I have so many more questions.
Will,
Um,
you'll definitely be back for a second
yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Dude, I mean, this is really sweet, man. Like I said, thank you again for spending some time with us. I know you're busy.
Pounding.
This is just so perfect. Everything
Right.
lines up, man.
It's all in the name.
It is.
It's all in the name.
It is. Angelo, what do you got, man?
I gotta hit off of what Will said about your diet. Your diet is everything. Like
Yeah,
life.
it's big for us.
Ugh.
It is.
Yeah, if you could see the way Angelo eats.
I it's usually carnivorous, but I've been really slacking lately.
By carnivorous, he means anything in sight.
Anything, steak, eggs, uncured bacon, all
Oh my
that good
God.
fat. All
Dude,
that good fat.
It also depends on your blood type. I've done extensive research
That's
into
what I'm saying.
diet,
O
and that's
positive,
like
man. That
an
red meat.
entire podcast on its own.
Well,
Oh,
Let's do it.
that
Let's
sounds
do
like
it.
third podcast. This is great.
Yeah.
Keeps going.
All right, we're gonna have Will's gonna be our resident expert in a lot of things.
Love it.
Oh my god! All right, guys, if you love listening and watching our podcast, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go follow Will at iWillPounder on the Instagram. Is it the same everywhere?
No, on Twitter it's the Will Pounder, but
The Will
just,
Pounder.
that one's not safe for work, so just be wary.
Be wary. All right, so Instagram it
IG.
is. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time, we're out.
Semper Fi. Hold on, we're clicking all the cameras off.